Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Nashville Tour Stop podcast. My name is Aaron, and I'm your host here. Unfortunately, this week, though, Miss Erin Cooper is not with us. She is indisposed somehow, I guess. But as a special treat, sitting across the table from me is one of my longtime friends and the guy I made it through COVID with. Welcome to the show, Mr. Paul Ivy, everybody.
Oh, thanks, Aaron. Thanks for having me.
Welcome to the show, Paul. Thank you for coming and sitting in the office studio and drinking with me.
For a change.
So, there's a billion things we could talk about because most of the time we just sit and bullshit ourselves, anyways. But do you remember how you and I met?
God, Aaron. Was it at Belcourt Taps?
It might have been, because I know that we met back when I was in my old band, Dirt Road Degenerates, but I can't remember if you came to watch us because you knew me or if you knew the old guy I was in my band with.
Or was it like a 12-step program, like an Alcoholics? We were high on
maybe. But it's good to see you, buddy. Thanks for coming out today.
Oh, yeah, my pleasure.
So I believe that it was sometime back in probably late 2017, maybe early 2018 that we met. Does that sound about right?
Yep, that sounds about right.
When did you actually move to Nashville?
About 2017, right around 17? Christmas time.
Okay, gotcha. So maybe it was 18 sometime when we actually met. Well, yeah, that seems about right. Maybe 4 years or so.
Yeah.
Well, we've definitely spent our fair share of time together because however it was that we met, there was definitely a beer in our hand.
And it continues to this day.
It continues to this day. Cheers, buddy. So Paul and I are currently drinking Long Neck Budweiser and a nice Bell Mead on the rocks.
Bell Mead, how convenient.
Hell convenient, yeah. So this has been a favorite of mine and a favorite maybe of yours.
Yep.
I don't want to put words in your mouth.
It's the house bottle.
It is the house bottle. I leave a loaner over at Paul's place anytime I want to go over and hang out.
Well, I think it was last year. Aaron bought a case of 12 of these.
Yeah,
he had a good deal.
I bought 14 bottles.
14 bottles.
I bought 2 6-pack cases and I bought 2 top shelf bottles.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was
he dropped one.
There's two left. There is 3 left. Sorry, there's 2 regular Bell Mead bourbons, and then I've got one of those top shelf bottles left. I've treated myself well, to say the least.
They haven't not done you wrong.
No, it has not. But Paul and I spent an egregious amount of time together during COVID because he had a little patio that was big enough for 2. Yeah, so there were days, and we probably did it 3 or 4 days a week for a while, right?
Yeah, right at the beginning of when the lockdown came, when you were not allowed to go anywhere. You just had to stay in shelter.
We sheltered.
We sheltered.
We sheltered with beer.
And we basically just talked. And we talked. That was the most beautiful part of having Aaron as a friend, is that we have these endless conversations. They go nowhere. They mean nothing. And yet we're entertaining ourselves.
I hate saying it, but you're totally right. They go nowhere, and there's absolutely no point to any of it. But for some reason, we're always entertained.
Yeah, which is the most important thing.
Yeah. So you've been a musician of many varieties. You're a songwriter. You're a guitar player. You've done your share touring. So how'd you get involved in music early on? What was it that lit that fire under your ass?
Well, I was always musically inclined, and even when I was 4 and 5 years old, my parents would ask me to put on certain records, and even though I couldn't read, obviously, I knew the sounds, and I was just surrounded by music. And my mother came to me, I was about 12 years old, and she said, "Paul, you're going to learn to play an instrument. I don't care what it is. Pick one."
That's cool.
And I saw a guy playing a guitar, and I said,
"Was the guitar the first one?"
Yeah, well, the only one.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. That was it, and I just said, "Okay, I'll do that." She said, "Okay."
That's neat.
Yeah, and she started they gave me lessons. And
did your parents give you lessons themselves?
Oh no, they sent me to a music school in LA. I was in Los Angeles, and I'll always remember I used to have to take the bus. I was like 12, and I had my guitar in a case, and I'd have to take the bus, and I would walk down the street to where my music school was, and across the street there was a bar.
Okay.
And every time I was walking down the street to take my lesson, I would see my teacher come out of the bar and walk into this
Pre-game teaching.
And he'd walk into the school before me. I would take my lesson. And then as I was walking back up the street,
He'd go back to the bar.
I'd look over my shoulder and he was going back into the bar. And I should have known right then and there.
Wow.
That's the life.
What were some of those records that you remember listening to when you were a kid?
Well, my grandma, she was a real country fan.
Like classic, like Hank Williams Sr.?
Exactly.
Classic country.
Yeah, classic country. Teresa Brewer. All of these top. There was a show called Hit Parade, and she had a beautiful voice, and she would sing these songs, and You're Cheating Heart, and just a cappella. She was just amazing.
That's cool.
And I was just surrounded by this beautiful voice. So I just slowly became, like to play guitar, and played a recital at the school. And my first band was I was in a jug band. You ever hear of a jug
band?
A jug band is?
I didn't know that about you.
Yeah. I was in a band called Ma's Preserved Jug Band. I was the rhythm guitar player. And it was kind of like bluegrass.
I can't believe we've been friends this long and I didn't know that about you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so you were in a jug band.
I was in a jug band.
So you were
in the Valley.
Were you born in New York? Is that where you were born?
To New Jersey, but my parents
Jersey.
divorced when I was 5.
Gotcha.
And then they moved. My mother and my new father moved to California.
Gotcha. So you grew up down in, was it Los Angeles?
Yeah, pretty much.
So you were there for the heyday of Sunset Strip, weren't you? The 70s and the 80s?
I got into a little bit of that, yeah. In fact, I remember with that jug band, we weren't old enough to really get paid, but we were playing these bars on Sunset Strip, and they would pay us with pizza and a Coca-Cola.
It was the 70s. I wasn't going to put it past you.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I think every 13-year-old should try a little cocaine. No, just kidding.
Back when I was very first starting my career up in Missouri, there were only a couple of open mics in my hometown that I could go to, and the one that I really grew into was at a dive bar called Eastside Tavern, and it was owned by this old, like, hair metal guy. I mean, old. I mean, back when I was 21, he seemed old. He was probably 40.
Right.
But he still had the huge long hair, and he had just biker denim, just leather everywhere, named Sal. No last name.
Sal.
Just Sal.
Got it.
But I was so poor when I was in college playing those open mics that he would host this open mic at his bar, and if you played the open mic for free, you got free pizza. So he was exchanging free entertainment for me, who was too poor to buy food.
Oh.
So I was working for my dinner, but I've been right there.
Yeah, man.
Pizza and Coke.
That's right.
I won't tell you which one I was having. Just kidding, Grandma.
Just kidding out there, folks.
Yeah, but there was a small little open mic circuit there with maybe 6 or 8 of us who'd go play every week, and
so y'all knew each other?
Yep. So we went there, and it was really early on, just like my only exposure to any kind of a community where we'd go meet at the same bar every week, and we'd play the same songs, and it was very similar to this life that I ended up living here in Nashville.
I was going to say, very similar.
Very similar. So you grew up in Southern California.
SoCal, yeah.
Were you ever in the like rocker scene? Was that yours, or were you more folksy country?
More folksy.
Okay.
Yeah, I wasn't into heavy metal. Basically,
you were never a Metallica guy, or let's see, who else would have been around there? God, Guns N' Roses, Motley Crue,
those kind of guys. Well, I knew of them, but those weren't the records I was buying or listening to.
What
blues,
records were you buying?
Well, blues, English blues. Peter Green,
cool.
Fleetwood Mac started as a blues band.
Right, it did.
Listen to those guys. Alvin Lee.
It's funny, I forget who the producer is that worked on those early Fleetwood Mac records, but there's a documentary about some studio they recorded Rumors in, and this producer was talking to them about their record that they were recording, and the band was complaining how it wasn't a blues record anymore, and this producer goes, "It may not be close to the blues, but it's a lot closer to the bank." And
yeah, money talks.
Boy, if that's not true, one of the most successful records of all time.
Oh man, Yeah, that's pretty much, we would actually wait for our favorite bands to come out with a new vinyl album, and we would all listen to it like it was a TV show, like it was a
You'd sit. I mean, you'd sit
listen to
down.
the
You
whole
put it
record.
on.
Yeah.
I think that's something that has kind of died. Is the art of just sitting and listening to an entire album.
Yeah.
I mean, I do that when I drive. I'll put on like an album or something.
yeah.
But I've got a record player at home. I've got a turntable and everything. But it's not very often I'll sit down and just actively listen to a record.
Well, we would wait for it.
It was
there's
a big deal.
Such and such, it's got a new record coming out. Let's go get it and go listen. We get high, and then we'd listen to the record.
Are you a big Dylan fan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big Dylan fan. I was a big Neil Young fan. Dylan was a big influence. When that guy came on the scene, it sort of changed a lot of shit.
How so?
They had never heard it. Well, first of all, songs were... Well, he's kind of created the artist-songwriter deal. Like, songs were written by people, and then they would be given to artists to sing. That whole concept of a artist writing his own material and singing it and putting it.
Wow! I didn't know that wasn't common, was it?
No, that was a whole new thing, and that changed around those times when people like him and Joni Mitchell. These were artists who actually wrote their tunes and then would make a record and then tour.
Yeah, and I mean,
And
apparently
you had fans.
They had fans, and now apparently they're like that. That was probably one of those like linchpins that changed our industry.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. That was all.
You got to see that happen real time. That's awesome, man.
Yeah, because songs were written up in Tin Pan Alley in New York, and gave out to artists. And in Nashville, I mean, I know a lot of artists don't write their own songs either, but that was a turning point. Yep.
Man, that's cool.
Dylan,
so, I also know this about you, but you done touring, or you did stints. I don't know if you were a hired gun or if you were part of a band, or
what they would do is like put a band together, like in LA, because there'd be like these sheets where you'd see who's looking for a player. Mm-hmm. Go down there, audition.
Just a call board for something.
Exactly, and then if they liked you, they'd put you on the road.
That's cool.
You'd all meet maybe for the first time
at a gig,
going to the gig. But it was cash, and we were young, and you get out of town, and you get to travel and play fucking music.
How long did you do touring gigs like that?
Maybe 8 years, 9 years.
Okay.
In fact, when I came to Nashville, the one person I actually knew in Nashville, I knew one person, was John McElroy.
No way.
And he was, and he had made some good hits.
That's cool.
During the 80s, and he was my buddy. But we had toured.
That's awesome.
We were in Hawaii for about 3 months, and his brother Ned.
So
Ned McElroy.
You've been in Hawaii touring. You toured up in Alaska for a while, correct?
Oh yeah.
What did you do up there?
Played in one of these bands.
Was it one of the? Were you doing like different cities, or were you like a house band at a bar or something?
The one in Alaska, we were a house band.
That's
for
cool.
like 3 months. But then there were other times when
were you doing two or 3 or 4 hour sets up there?
Yeah,
just cover tunes.
Top
40s,
all cover tunes.
Top 40s.
Yeah,
man, that's
a crab fisherman.
That's a world I never got into. I was never interested in playing cover songs.
Have you ever done the Broadway thing? I know you have gigs.
I have never done a proper 3 or 4 hour Broadway set. I have never done that. I've performed on Broadway back when I was in Dirt Road Degenerates. Right. We played at Acme Feed and Seed at First and Broadway there across from the Hard Rock. And we did a couple of sets. We were the intermission act for a relative, I would say like a C-level country player named Johnny Highland. And we were the he's a brilliant player, C-level as far as fame goes.
But yeah, technique though.
Technique goes. He is one of the best guitarists I've ever seen.
Yeah.
But we were his intermission act. So when he and his band would do their songs and their cover tunes, they would take like a 25 or 30 minute break, and then my band would do our music.
I think I was there for one of those.
I think you were.
I had done this taping for there was a music show that lasted for about a minute, one of those judging kind of shows, and we had come over afterwards to see you at that. But okay. I like Acme Feed and Field. I love the upstairs. There's a top floor.
Yeah.
You could see out.
Yeah, having that rooftop. Did you know that I think it was a couple of years ago, the rooftop at Acme Feed and Seed actually collapsed?
Oh, no.
The third floor, the patio up on the roof actually collapsed while people were up on it. There were just too many people there.
Wow.
Yeah, so danger, danger. I'm sure that it's steadily reinforced now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so all things to say, I've never done a proper Broadway cover set, and I don't have any interest in doing that. Like, I think it'd be fun to do maybe one, like, just to go play some, and I wouldn't want to do 4 hours. I think it'd be fun to have, like, I'll sub in on a guitar for 6 songs.
You know, I totally respect, Sarah May and Allie Seeley and these girls. They go down there. Andrea Goodman.
Paige Rose is one of those
they
also.
They play for 4 hours in the morning. They play for 4 hours at night. They're just like amazing.
I know. I have some of my friends who are down on Broadway. They'll do doubles and triples every day. And see, that sounds awful, but if you're doing doubles 5 days a week, you're literally just putting in your 40-hour work week. That's all it is.
That's all it is, and they get good
You
money.
can get cash, hard cash down there.
Yeah, and those tourists. That's a tour. Hey, Nashville's a tourist town. Let's face it.
That's something that I have begrudgingly had to accept. Is the tourist industry here is king, and even though songwriting is what makes this town what it is, no one wants to go to Broadway and hear your song.
Unfortunately, that is true.
Unless your song is
on the radio.
On the radio, exactly.
Yeah.
It's funny. Friends of the show, Josh Beal and Kate Hastings, they used to be in a duo called Hastings and Co.
Yeah.
I think they're on a hiatus right now because Josh is actually on tour playing bass for Priscilla Block.
Nice.
Tour Stop alum, and they just played the CMA Fest that the show we went to. Priscilla played that intermission show between Jason Aldean and Zach Brown. That was my friend on stage.
Wow, yeah,
yep, but
I know those guys.
Kate Hastings and Josh Beal wrote several of her songs, and I think they co-wrote with Priscilla her big, like, the one that got her record deal, which is called Just About Over You. But, yeah, exactly. People don't want to hear your songs unless they're on the radio. If you're on Broadway, if you leave downtown or at least leave the Strip there's definitely places where people will want to hear original music.
Well, and that, right, picking it up where you left off there is like the beauty of what you do. And I know you sponsor and promote so many rounds, and there's others in town. And that's the beauty of Nashville. I mean, if you really come here with something to say, you've got
there's a platform for that.
There's a bar stool on every corner, man. You could sing your heart out.
It's crazy because there's so many of these writers' rounds in town, and since we've been here, pretty much, I think I've only been here like 6 months longer than you, maybe. But so we've been here for pretty much the same length of time, and these rounds really can just pop up and go away just out of nowhere. They come and go so quick. So stuff like Tour Stop that's been happening for 4 years is really a sign of both the people in town who like it and the people in town who have something they want to say and do, just because, man, there's so many that's like, if you want to go play that bar, this person's booking it. Oh, that bar closed. Oh, that person doesn't host the show anymore. It's hard to find these, I don't want to call myself a pillar, but these things that are just set. They're predictable. They always happen.
And the same people come. You have the same acts and the same people that are even. I mean, I go to them when I'm not even playing, just to come and hang out. And
you want to see your friends there.
Yeah, you want to see your friends, and I think that's a beautiful part of it: the camaraderie and the friendship, and it's always a good hang.
Always a good hang. And see, I believe it was you who told me Barbara Cloyd the other day said something about, like, the most important thing in Nashville is just being a good hang.
Be a good hang, I mean, songwriters are just like hanging on trees. I mean, my buddy Brad Knoll played me some songs once. He used to help Walker Hayes write.
No way, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, they used to had this little studio, a little shed, he used to call it. And he played me some songs that never saw the light of day, but were like, they'd make your hair stand up. They were so good, and you would be like, "What happened here?" And it's it's just a crapshoot. You just never know.
See, I tried writing a song about that last night. Actually, it was called. The idea behind it was just a day away, but it's like we're all just. It could be one song away from making it. We're one day away from being just a superstar.
All the
And that's
stars
how
have to line
far and
up.
how close we
Yeah.
all are to this stuff.
And that's the allure of it.
That is the allure of it,
It's like
because
gold
you
mining.
never know. Like, some of the dumbest songs in music history have probably been written after 15 beers, and it's just you didn't care about all the rules and songwriting logistics and whatever, and you're just like, this is funny. And then next thing you know, you have a work tape of it, and then you have a demo, and then some big country actor's like, this is a great song, I want to cut that. And you're like, wow, I don't really even remember writing that.
That's always how you know it's a good song.
Yeah, there's a guy
wrote
in
this?
town with that. Have you ever heard that song Dicked Down in Dallas?
Yes.
Yeah, it's one of those songs where I don't think they wrote that intending it to be the song. That's Trey Lewis. I don't think he wrote that with his friends intending it to be the song that would get him to open for Kid Rock on
Right.
tour. But like he's on the road and he's got a full-time life as a musician now because of that. It's proof again that you never know what is going to work.
So what do you think it really comes down to? I mean, yes, we would all like to become rich. We would all like to be well-known and famous. But don't you think there's a fun factor that just keeps this ball
Yeah.
rolling?
Yeah, so there's this song called "Too Much Fun" by Daryl Singletary, and it's just another one of those things. It's like everyone's writing these heartfelt ballads, and the "You broke my heart, but I'm a better person for." Fuck that. Daryl Singletary had it right. It's just like it's just too much fun. It's like I forget what the hook is, but it ain't no thing is like too much fun, or ain't no such thing as too much fun. And like that's all we're after, and that's why so much country music is just about beer and hanging out with your friends, is because all we're after is a good time.
Sing what you know.
Sing what
write
you
what you, write what you know.
You got to live a life worth writing about. And turns out most life in country music is about hanging out with your friends.
and bars and drinking. I mean, it's just what, you know. I mean, I've always loved country music. I mean, I started listening when I was listening, like you asked me back then, bluegrass. I always liked bluegrass gospel.
Okay.
The harmonies in bluegrass gospel. Of course, the message and with the Lord is beautiful, but those people, those harmonies. I think one of my favorite things is harmony.
That's something
Those
that country music
bluegrass
does
harmony.
exceptionally well.
Yeah.
And I think as a parallel, like hard rock music is done, because if you go back and listen to those like hair metal bands, they're doing really extreme harmonies sometimes, and that's something that a lot of music, hip hop and things like that, they don't incorporate that as much because there's so much other stuff, the beat, the rhythm,
It's mostly beat, yeah.
yeah, everything like that
Right.
is kind of taking away. But with bluegrass and gospel and country music, like it's really focused on the words and the melody of it.
Oh, I love it. It's like they say, a 3-minute movie. Mm-hmm. But the harmonies, even the Beatles, would refer back to the Everly Brothers, listening to those records. In England, they were listening to those records over and over. And the Everly Brothers, I mean, you know those guys. If you know harmony, you know what those guys are about. And they said they took all their harmonies from a good part of their sound.
Really?
From Don and Phil.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So
If you listen to their records, you'll hear it.
okay, I'm definitely gonna have to go back and re-listen to that, because there's some of these records that I have put out, and like my very first album, you've never actually heard. It was from when I was 18 years old. My band got second place in a battle of the bands back in Missouri.
Nice.
And the guy who was hosting the Battle of the Bands was a teacher at my school. And he wanted my band to win, but he wasn't a judge. So he was in charge of the whole program, and it was between all of the public school student bands in my town. And this other band got first place by 1/2 of 1 point. And we got second place. So this teacher guy who was in charge of the whole show decided that instead of the first place band getting all of the money to record a record, first and second place, we're going to split it evenly. So my band got, I think it was $1,000 to go record an album. and we ended up pushing more of our own money into it, but we recorded a 7-song EP
In Colombia?
in Colombia, back in my hometown, and like 4 of the songs were songs I'd written, and a couple of them were co-writes, which was, back then, I didn't understand what that was. We just called it a collaboration, because like I wrote the chords and the singer wrote the words, and he changed the order of the chords, and he's like, oh, this will be cooler. And I was like, oh, that's so much cooler. Why didn't I think of that? And I had no idea what that kind of dynamic of co-writing was going to become, way more important in my later life. But we recorded an album, and our band and the album were both called Lot 56.
Nice.
That was what my album and my band were called. The record that we ended up putting out was almost exclusively tracked live, which is really weird for our super produced world that we live in now, where people are going in and doing 1,000 overdubs and whatever. But because we were on such a tight budget for everything, we were like, okay, in the week leading up to it, we practiced 6 hours a day for every day. Like we played the 7 songs that we had over and over and over and over and over and over and over, because we knew we only had so much time to pay for in the studio. We didn't want to fuck up when we were actually playing. So we went and tracked an entire record live, which is, I think about it now, bonkers.
Very professional.
It was the best I've ever played in my entire life. So the only overdubs we did the band tracked the song with a scratch vocal, and then the singer went in and overdubbed the final vocals, and I overdubbed the guitar solos. So I had to write parts for songs that I had never written before, because when we'd play live with the band, there wouldn't be a rhythm guitar part. I would just go into the solo. So I had to write like, oh shit, I gotta put chords underneath this for the first time. So I was pushing myself, because I was 17, 18 years old. I had no idea what chord goes underneath 8,000 notes of a guitar solo. And it's fun going back and listening to that.
Is that album available today?
If you want to listen to it, it's available on Spotify still, called Lot 56.
Oh my God.
And the artwork on there. So there's another band on Spotify called Lot 56 that is not my band from back then. It's another band that I...
This is not to be confused with Area 51 in
No.
New Mexico. Okay.
So there's, if you go onto Spotify, there are four releases under Spotify's Lot 56. There's one single called One Man Rollin' Stone, not me. Then there's 3 albums. There's self-titled Lot 56 from 2012, that's me. And then there's 2 others that are not me. But the album cover is just a black and white album cover, and it's something that my friend drew in Sharpie in a chemistry class. And she's like, hey, this would be a cool logo for your band. And I was like, that's a great logo. I'm going to use that. That's going to be the album art for our release.
It's awesome. Our listeners cannot see this, but it is very cool.
It's just a scan of a printer paper that she did, and then we typed over it LOT56, and that was our first release. But there's so much fun stuff on there going and listening back, because I didn't think of it this way, but we were a prog rock band.
What were your lyrics like? Were you saying anything?
Oh, Jesus, Paul.
Sorry.
The lyrics of the first song we learned as a band, the first song I ever wrote, the chorus was, the thoughts in my brain are scattered like beans on the floor. Yeah, on the floor. The words in my dreams are weirder than the day before. The day before.
That's heavy.
It was so bad. And the songs, like, I didn't realize it at the time, because we were just playing what we felt, loud, fast, whatever. But we were changing time signatures 3 or 4 times a song. So the intro of that song's in 7/4, and then there'd be a breakdown in 5/4, and then the chorus would be in 4/4. And I didn't realize at the time that we were just a straight up prog rock band.
Wow.
Rush, Yes, anything like that. We were just a fucking prog rock band.
Playing loud, big amps.
Oh, dude, look behind you right there. That is a Bugera 55-watt half stack with 4 12-inch Celestion speakers. That thing is loud enough to fill a fucking stadium, dude.
And it looks amazing. Too bad y'all can't see this.
It's
That's
huge.
a cool looking thing.
It is a cool looking amp. I haven't used it for a record in years, but it is a heavy duty amp.
412s.
412s. I mean, the amp head and the speaker cabinet together probably weigh 75 pounds. It's humongous. And that is what I grew into. I haven't used that forever, and I'm just waiting for the day when I have a full recording studio, and that's just going to live there, and it's going to be just that Bugera. I don't know if you're familiar with this brand. It is a hard rock, high gain.
Is that English? Is that English?
I think so.
Because those Marshalls, remember that
Marshalls, it's got that nice cursive lettering.
Yeah.
But man, I drove this thing into the wall.
That's awesome.
Like the master volume there. I mean, we'd played gigs at like 500 capacity venues back then, and those are still some of the biggest crowds I've ever played to.
Is there another top to this? You have
No, I've only got this half
okay.
right here. But this thing got so loud that the master volume, we never had to turn past 2 or 3. It's just because after a certain threshold, my ears couldn't even determine how loud it was. I could just feel the ground shaking beneath me.
Yikes.
That was rock and roll.
That's rock and roll, baby.
Well, hey, let's take a quick commercial break, and we'll come right back with the Nashville Tour Stop podcast. Welcome back to the Nashville Tour Stop podcast. Thanks for hanging out with us here today. And across the table from me here is my pal, longtime friend of the show, and probably the guy in town I've had the most beer with throughout my tenure here, Mr. Paul fucking Ivy.
What an honor.
So we've just been talking about a whole heck of a lot of stuff today. But I want to learn a little bit more about you and what you've done in your music career. And I do know that you had a gold record. Can you talk about that a little bit? Brag to me, since I've never had a gold record.
Well, it's what you might call a backdoor gold record, but yes, I did get one. When I went out,
That's 500,000.
500,000. Yeah,
a lot.
Yeah, but that's sales. That's units.
500,000
That's
units.
not streaming.
Good God.
And that actually was in I forget where it actually went to number one. It was either Australia or South Africa. But the single. Well, here, let me back up. When I went to L.A. I should back up even more. We moved to L.A., but then I went back to school in upstate New York when I went to college up near Woodstock, New York, and that was a real mecca of music too. So I played in all of the local bands up there. Anyway, so eventually that wore off, and I came back to L.A.
Okay.
And when I came back to L.A., I met and hung out with. L.A. had a country rock scene.
Okay.
That kind of started with like Buffalo Springfield, Poco, Loggins in Messina. Mm-hmm. It was a kind of a West Coast Graham Parsons sound. And I started hanging around with these guys.
Okay, cool.
And, met writers, met musicians, met Ron Coleman, he was a player out there that had been the bass player for the Everly Brothers.
Okay. And
he became a friend of mine. And through him, I met a lot of players like Albert Lee. I've known Albert since the 70s. And we became like buddies. And met Rocky Burnett, who was the son of Johnny Burnett, which, if everybody out there knows, the Burnett Trio was one of the founding rock and roll, like Elvis type days.
Cool.
And so Rocky was his son. So anyway, I came up with an idea called Angel and Chambray. And I went over there and, we'd hang out. And I dumped that idea onto Rocky and Ron Coleman, Rocky Burnett. And we wrote that song. And so when Rocky had his hit, Tired of Towing the Line, which was an international hit, the album, I got on the album with Angel and Chambray.
Sweet.
Yeah, so that album took a nice ride.
Friend of the show and one of the only people I know who's got a fucking gold record, man.
Yeah, and it was funny because at the time it went gold. It was on EMI, and they called me up and they said, would you like a gold record?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, yeah. I said, do you just give them out? And they go, oh no, you have to buy it.
How much were they?
There was about $200. And I said, nah, that's okay. I don't really want that record. So what I did was, about a year ago, I don't know if you remember this, I had the vinyl that they gave me, and I bought gold paint at Home Depot.
You have a DIY gold record.
I sprayed it.
You have a real, fake, somehow both gold record.
And I hung it on the wall with one of the shelves your dad or you made.
I made that one.
But you know, there was a funny story about, and I think it was one of the Beatles saying that they had taken one of their gold records and tried to play it.
Mm-hmm. Couldn't do it.
It was some other song. It was just like a different artist. They just took a record and sprayed it gold.
My God.
So I did that. But mine's the real deal.
So Rocky Burnett.
Rocky Burnett, yeah.
I wonder if that, I mean, look at all these 45s up here, man. There's a good chance that it could be
there's
up there.
A very good chance. Yeah, that song, "Tired of Towing the Line," went to number 8 here on the Billboard charts, but around the world it was a knockout. And I remember at the old Bobby's Idol Hour, there was an album cover with the Burnett Trio.
No
Johnny
way.
Burnett.
That's cool.
I remember sitting there going, "Whoa!"
Oh.
Back in the day. But
So that was out in L.A., right?
That was out in L.A., yeah.
So you've lived in New York, L.A., and Las Vegas for a couple years too?
I was working for a company that moved to Vegas. And they asked me to join them. And so I went up and lived there for 2 years, yeah.
Gotcha. But moreover, with the Los Angeles life, you were an actor also.
This is true.
This is true. You have had more success than many actors who go to Los Angeles and try to make it. Can you tell us a little bit about what you did on camera?
Well, since you asked, of course I had to take you take acting lessons, and it's kind of it was a tough game. I guess anything where you want to make it to the top, but basically I fell in with some good classes. I had a C-level agent that got me onto TV as day player, one-liners, parts. I mean, and then joined Screen Actors Guild. You had to join that. And as in Tennessee, it's a right to work state. Mm-hmm. You don't have to be in the union. Back out there, if you're not in a union, you won't get hired. So you join Screen Actors Guild.
You have to be in this. Yeah, you have to be in SAG. And is SAG different than SAG-AFTRA?
Well, SAG used to be SAG and AFTRA used to be AFTRA, and then they merged.
So they just joined. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, they just merged. So
I could have joined SAG-AFTRA when I was on the Nashville CMT show because
really?
I was there as an extra, but they fired one of their actors on set because he kept ducking out of frame. Like he was nervous to be in front of the camera or something. So I'm sitting there just quietly minding my own business as an extra. This actor keeps ducking out of frame, and the director goes, "Cut! You ducking out of frame, get the fuck out of here."
Just like that?
You sitting next to him, take his spot. So that's how I got onto TV. Then I got to do 4 episodes.
Oh my God. See how God works.
Yep. And see, I was talking to my buddy named Jed, who is an actor out in LA, and he was telling me about that. He's like, "Man, what you experienced is what tens of thousands of people move here hoping to have happen." And he's like, "I'm kind of jealous because you didn't even care."
Isn't that how it is?
It's like I didn't even care. So if I ever wanted to audition for a role, I have credential. I have been on network television.
Well, to get into SAG, you had to be...
I was on set for 4 days.
But you had to be bumped up to speaking to some part, not an extra.
So I was a radio producer for one of the characters on that show, and then I was invited back for the finale. So I'm on stage at the Ryman in the finale of Nashville CMT.
Dude.
Yeah. It's crazy just because all of my actor friends were like, "Dude, I wish that had been me." And I was like, "Yeah, I just took the check and went home." I didn't even care. So you were on a couple of TV shows, right?
Then you kind of work your way up the ladder. I did get on Murder, She Wrote. I did 4 seasons for them. I did Dallas and 90210 back in the TV days, Doogie Howser. I did a couple of movies. I did one actually with David Bowie.
No way. Which one was that?
The Linguini Incident.
Okay.
And a couple other films, but really one of the pinnacles of my acting career. I mean, I don't know if anybody out there knows who Bob Rafelson is, but he was a very big-time director.
Okay.
And he was doing a commercial in town. These guys would pick up a little cash, a couple days' work, and hired me to do this national commercial for guest quarters suites, which was a great deal.
Sweet.
Made some money, did that. But I was able to work with a really
That's cool, man.
big time. I mean, this is like.
I mean, you worked with
like
David
from-
Bowie.
Yeah,
There's not a lot of people who can say
who was
that.
actually a very cool guy.
Really?
Very calm and sweet.
So, which film was that?
The Linguini Incident.
The Linguini.
I mean,
incident.
believe me, dude, these are all B-side movies. I mean, we're not talking major releases.
That still counts, man.
I'm just
that
saying.
still counts.
I know.
That's cool though. I've
it is
always
fun.
thought that it would be fun to be in the TV industry because as much as I love music and love being in the music industry, I think that TV is my favorite kind of media to consume. I just watch television just like.
Do you like movies? Do you like films?
I enjoy TV more than I enjoy films, but
Oh.
I'll still watch movies. I watched a couple of movies last night when I was at home. It took the evening off from going out and just watched, I think, 2 movies. But then I watched a documentary about Metallica. So I like stuff like that.
That's cool. Documentaries are cool. I just recently saw the Elvis movie,
No way.
which is
How is that? I haven't seen
amazing.
it yet. Amazing.
You really should see it. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'll
really
definitely
do.
give that a go.
The best part of it was, I mean, everybody knows he was great, the king, and the drugs and all of that stuff at the end. The cool part of the movie is it shows where that all came from.
Okay.
And how he hung out with people, and how he was up in Memphis, up in these rooms, in these hotel rooms, where these people would have these parties and just bang on pianos and just go crazy.
Right.
And little tent cities like carnivals. And he'd sneak in as a kid, and that's where he got that rhythm, you know? And that was the coolest part, I thought. It's where that all come from. Elvis.
Sweet.
Yeah, it was cool.
Man, that's cool. I'll definitely have to check out that
yeah.
movie. Well, Paul, thank you for coming on the
Oh,
show today.
Aaron, cool.
I want to ask you one more question.
Okay.
You've got yourself in a circuit of places you like to play and bars you like to go to. Where are some places in Nashville that people might be able to find you on any given day? Just places you like to go and hang out.
Well, I'll be, I mean, I don't mean to make this sound like I'm blowing smoke, but I always like to go to Nashville Tour Stop
Cool.
events because those are my friends. Either I'm playing it or I'm drinking at it or just hanging out. So, Aaron, you've got a nice streak of places. There's the Cambria Hotel. There's the Sonny's. Sonny's is good. I mean, of course, we know Belcourt and we know Cabana are kind of like in the rear
R.I.P.
view.
those places.
Yeah. But, you did the basement for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And, whenever I see an NTS show, I always like to go there. Then there's like the listening room. I remember you sold out the listening room. That was a good gig.
That's cool. We'll be back there in September, actually.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah, that's another good one. And, just friendly local places where I know, there's nothing like walking into some place where you're going to see some friends.
It's like Cheers.
Exactly.
They had it right, man.
They did.
Where everybody knows your name and everyone's glad you came.
Yeah, and you just feel like you're part of a crowd.
It's good to walk into a place and actually know somebody because, man, when I first moved here, I didn't know fucking soul.
Ditto.
And it's hard to go to a bar now where I don't know someone. And I'll leave it right at this. It was maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago. I was planning on going to see a lineup of, I think it was 3 of my friends' bands, and I'm going to leave the promoter and show out of this, but the promoter and show does similar to what Tour Stop does, and it goes to different places, kind of just depending on where they get shows lined up. But I saw the lineup, I saw the time, I had everything set, put it in my calendar, drove over to the venue, walked in, bought a ticket, and I was like, the ticket said $10. Why did it cost $17 to get in here? I was like, maybe it was a weird like door surcharge. Okay, that's weird. So I bought a beer, and I was like, I don't know anyone in this bar, and I know, not to blow smoke up my own ass, but I know a lot of people, and I didn't know a goddamn person. And then I was like, okay, maybe I'm early. I walked out onto the patio. More people I didn't know, so I double checked the poster. I was at the wrong venue.
No, I've done that.
I spent $25 for a ticket and a beer, and I was so pissed. I didn't even drink the beer. I just slammed it down on a table and left. So, you can find Tour Stop at a bunch of different places, but we're always at the same ones, different day of the week, depending. But, Paul, thanks for coming on today. You have music on, what is it, Reverb Nation?
Reverb Nation, and on Instagram, Paul Ivy Music. But, I usually post where I'm playing. Last week I had about 5 places I played. And so, I just I'll be around, Contact my agent, Aaron Schilb, who will tell you.
You can come to a show and hear Paul saying honky tonk collar.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, Paul, thanks for being on here
Aaron.
today. You can follow us on social media at Nashville Tour Stop. That's Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, and Facebook. Follow us all of those places. You can also check us out live and in person. You can come hang out with me and Paul. Check out our live event calendar on NashvilleTourStop.com. Watch our video series called Trendsetters. There's so many cool stories of people here in town. We do shorts with different people, and those are like a minute long, and then we do long form interviews with some people, and they get to do an acoustic performance, and we've got several episodes of that out. But check out Trendsetters and Trendsetters Showroom. Also, just come hang out with us at a show. That's the most fun part. You get to have a drink, you get to meet your friends, and you get to see me and Paul being dumb. So in the meantime, while we close out the episode for today, you should remember that all roads lead right back here to the Nashville Tour Stop. Yeehaw, motherfucker!